enforcement in our schools, especially now with the gun violence that we're seeing. I think this last year we increased so that in every school we have an officer. More children are arrested, the more policemen that are involved. So what are we doing to train on implicit racism? And what are we doing to demand that training of police?
I don't think we see implicit racism around here. I'm just being honest. I don't think they think there is an issue with law enforcement. Some have even gotten seemingly offended when I suggested, hey, you might could use more training of the officers when they go in particular communities. I had the privilege of being a part of a melee this weekend in a particular African American community. It is known for drugs and crime, but the way the officers treated human beings, it was really appalling to think, hey, everybody out here is not a criminal. Everybody's not breaking the law. I had the opportunity to accost them myself and say, hey, these are human beings. Treat them like animals, and you're talking to them as if they're animals. So when you come the next time, do you expect a friendly greeting? That's what's taking place within the community. So I think these officers, many of our officers, need training. But I think that should come from upper level staff members, people who are in blue, brothers who are already there, who are standing by doing nothing. We have to send a message to our law enforcement, hey, if there needs to be training added to your regiment within this community, hey, it needs to be done. And we say that at the voting polls. Hey, Sheriff, if you ain't gonna do it, we need to put somebody else in there who's gonna regulate this.
What is the reaction, the response when you have that conversation? Does it vary?
Yes, it's based on the individual you're speaking to. It may vary. I did speak with an upper level staff person in the sheriff's office this weekend. Very, very easy to speak with, very cordial, understood the community that he was in, but I find it just, baffling at times when this level staff person understands the community, knows how to operate within particular communities, but that has not matriculated down to his lower level staff personnel via his patrol officers.
Actually, I asked that question. I was talking about training in implicit racism for the teachers because we know that exists too. And what I'm concerned about is keeping the kids from getting sent to the policeman. Are we doing anything there?
That'd be tough, Doc. That really, I think that's tough. Being in schools, I go to schools, I visit them every week, every single week. It's difficult when I go in, if law enforcement there, I don't care, because he's in the school, ladies and gentlemen, he's hired by the school, or part of his salary is paid by the school, he has complete authority. Every time I go, I see that. The officer has complete authority, although it may not seem like it, because he is the one where it is understood that he knows the law. He understands that this, and sometimes staff persons, and not blaming them at schools, they have to digress. Like, well, he's a police officer. He's saying this is a crime, this is a crime, this is a crime. So most of the time you have staff going along with the officers. So it's a difficult dynamics to kind of shake loose.
What is the youngest child you've had, any of you, in the juvenile system?
7.
Are their parents, are they kept close to their parents? Do they always keep them in the community? Do we send them away sometimes? Excuse me?
He didn't stay long. But I had a 7-year-old.
It's like Zion on the film, 7. So I'm picturing that now when you said it and have goosebumps.
Yeah. I, as an administrator, became quite irate, and he was promptly sent home with his parents. Yeah, 7 is good. I think they've had 6 in another part of the state.
6 years old.
6.
Presently, there is no residential treatment center for youth in the juvenile delinquency system. As a community, we need to lobby for a treatment center in Pensacola. How can we get something like this off the ground? Any ideas?
We have one.
Well, we have one, so that's, can you tell us about it?
It's there at Lakeview. It's called the Meridian. It's been part of this community for at least 15, 20 years. Longer than that. And how long?
Over 30 years.
Over 30 years.
You need another one. Or expand really.
Do we need more? Are they, someone had asked that another question, are they typically full? Is it hard to get in?
There's a variety of issues there. We're talking about hard to get in. Some insurance companies, if you won't pay for that, or they have agreements with other facilities that are outside of the state, and that's where they'll send the children versus keeping them here local. But the vast majority of the children we're able to serve here inside, here inside the community. There's times that we have capacity needs issues, and there's times that we have open beds that aren't being used, so it just kind of wax and wanes, just based on the trends that are going on here in the community.
I'm afraid again, it's a little late tonight, but I'm returning. But it's difficult, the juvenile work is difficult when you got so many juveniles who may not fit the Meridian's profile. I mean, they need more severe, more help than Meridian can offer. And then there's no place for them. Or if their insurance doesn't pay, then they can't get in. You know, as an attorney, the number of juveniles that can relate, which you discussed before, you know, mental health problem is enormous. It's enormous. You wouldn't get to them could say, but if you go there and hadn't gone before, you would be almost terrified. Until juveniles have mental health problems at some level, it's really it's harrowing, it's disturbing, and not that Escambia County is worse than that place, but we need to appreciate, we said before, the effect of juvenile emotional maladies that children have. As children, they get traumatized with the shootings and death and spousal abuse and their homes. This is traumatic for children, traumatic. And as you get the things, you keep going generation to generation, and more traumatic. So, I mean, helping them on the front end, they're already on the front end before they get there. When they get there, the services that they need, help them leave that system is paramount. We don't address the mental health problem of children in the system, it's going to come back to bite us.
All right, we've got one last question, and we didn't get to them all, and I apologize, but people are getting restless, and we want to get you on the road by 8 o'clock. Is it impossible to allow a reformed gang member that has suffered these conditions to be allowed to come in as a qualified mentor to talk to these juveniles, maybe while they're still in a treatment facility before it gets too bad? Possible, and I should add effective.
I think it's possible and effective. I say that because I've been in federal prison once, I've been in state prison twice. I've been shot, stabbed, did all the same. And the people that I use in my program are like former gangster disciples, who will stand up Mr. Kenny Daggett, who are now people who help participate in the civil citation program. So we give kids a real experience and an understanding of what it's like on the other side of this thing that you've just started. So I think it's beneficial for not only the kids who are coming through that system, but the community at large.
What is the program that you referenced? You said in my program.
The HOOPS, Healthy Opportunities Option, Promoting Success, the World Believers Civil Citation Program.
Yes, it's possible. They use them. There's just some restrictions that might apply, but certainly. You know, depending on what a criminal history looks like, there might not be unfettered access or unsupervised access, but there's absolutely the ability to bring, we do it all the time, in residential and detention, bring people in to have discussions, interactions, mentoring roles with kids all the time now.
Dr. Are you able to, I know your program is, they're licensed and all of those things, but are you able to utilize that option at all?
We actually have staff who have grown up through the system and that are actually working for us now, who were in foster care their whole lives. Have come out now and are actually part of our treatment team. So yeah, it does happen, and you know, like Paul says, it's based on the history of law violations and what it is the federal government will allow us to do, because we have so many federal type programs. We have very in-depth background checks, but those that are able to show that they've changed, for lack of a better way, with good character, are definitely part of our treatment teams. I've got at least 2 gentlemen right now that I can think of that grew up in foster care, and one in particular went off to juvenile programs and works for me right now, and he is probably one of my best staff members as far as being able to align with the youth that he works with.
I just wanted to add to that. I didn't just, jump and start doing this. I had to go through the process. I got an exemption from the Attorney General. I had to work my way up the ladder, provide proof that I have been doing better. Because if I'm not doing better, how can I help them do better? So it was a process that I had to walk my way through. And once I got that exemption from him, it was no turning back. And I think I've done a great deal of service to the youth of our community and the people in our community. And I understand that background and where they came from and where they're trying to go.
Yeah, the Department of Children and Families has what they call an actual exemption process, along with ACA, the federal government, the Agency for Healthcare. They both have processes for people to be able to say, I've changed, I'm doing better, and I want to go out and help, and they have processes to be able to do that.
We're going to let Myra come up.